Now you are feeling so bad. What you will feel during the operation? Okay, let's continue, my friends. 1 minute attention. You also listen. How we inserted this tube inside of trachea? It is. Thank you very much. It is very important that I listen me attentively. First of all, of course, we close this lock to not lose the inner tube. Yeah, that's why my retractor is in open position. Look here, please. First of all, shield I pulled in sagittal plane like this. Then only I turn it to the frontal plane and finally insert it inside of the tube. You can say, why not at once in that case? Again, to not damage the posterior wall. Let's say this is position 1, 2. Let's say remember, please, after this, I'm sorry, of course I removed the trousseau retractor from these apertures by, no any sutures. From this aperture, by bandages, we fix instrument in the neck and we suture the wound up to the tube. My friends, in the previous my lecture, I explained you that operations can be divided into the radical operations and palliative operation. Do you remember what is the radical operation and what the palliative operation? Guys, palliative, remember please, it is the Latin term. Palliative operation doesn't remove the reason of problem. Palliative operation just increase the life, make it more comfortable. Now tell me please, in your opinion, tracheotomy, tracheostomy, it is radical operation or palliative?
Radical.
Really?
Sometimes.
Really? It can be or radical or palliative. Imagine the case that in upper part of respiratory system there are unremovable tumors. Patient cannot be breathed. Yeah, unremovable. In larynx, yeah, especially for smoking persons. We can have this situation. What can I do? Tracheotomy. Second case, there are foreign body. During short time, I will apply tracheotomy, remove foreign body, and then close everything. I give you example of radical tracheotomy and palliative tracheotomy. That's why remember, please, in the same time, it can be radical and it can be palliative operation. Let's continue. That's why remember, please, these 3 instruments, yeah? That's why these 3 instruments we call tracheotomic, tracheostomic. Tomy, what is tracheotomy?
Opening.
Tomy, it is cutting, opening. Stomy, it is formation. Then I inserted the tube, I formed the fistula by environment. It's the first way I make tomy, I cut the wall, and then I make stomy. That's an operation we call tracheotomy, tracheostomy. Remember, please, and let's continue. A lot of variants of urinary catheters. You can see that sizes and materials is different. Metallical catheters today I not suggest you to use. Why? Because it's very traumatic. But in any case, in hospitals till now it's used. Yeah, short and straight females catheter, long and curved is males catheter. Because of anatomical peculiarities of urinary system, we have different sizes of them. Yeah, and I want to suggest you to use only and strongly elastical catheters. But you can say me how it will be possible if will be the blockade. If there are blockade, guys, don't try by the force insert anything in the urinary way. Why? Because you will damage the walls. Remember, please, even the small damage of walls of urinary system will make after a lot of problems. Anytime your patient will have inflammation of urinary system. Because urine will irritate it. That's why what to do, guys. Make the puncture of the urinary bladder. If there are blockade of urinary ways, it will be better to make the puncture of urinary bladder than to insert these metallical instruments inside of the urinary ways. Remember, please. puncture of urinary bladder is very simple. We call it epicystostomy. How we do it? Give me the pelvic bones, please. Thanks. Now look here, please. It's very simple, guys. You palpated upper margin of the pubic symphysis. Yeah, then you remember, then it is full urinary bladder by the urine. It arises to upwards. And what is more important, guys, peritoneum also lifts to upwards. That's it. Then we make the puncture. We don't damage the peritoneum. We don't damage the peritoneum. You remember, in front of urinary bladder, there are the radius pocket. And here, the peritoneum is movable. Let's say then it filled by the urine, the peritoneum goes to upwards, and strongly by upper margin, you take the puncture needle, for example, that one, yeah? And by the puncture needle, by upper margin of our pubic symphysis, you go to the bladder. Then the urine comes to outside, you understand that you reach your space, yeah? But you try to not so much insert it inside. Why? Because then, hold it please. Then it will be full, nothing will be happen, even if you will insert it more. But then it will come to the empty case, the tip can damage the opposite wall. You understand me? That's why after reaching of the urinary bladder, you maximally remove the needle. Up to have the urine, of course, which is passed to outside. You understand? That's why it means only tip of it will be inside of urinary bladder to not damage posterior wall. That's why
How to be careful to not damage the pit?
we don't check it, dear. Just we know anatomically that it will be impossible. If I will make puncture here, the roof of urinary bladder will be upwards to it. I know that peritoneum by the roof of urinary bladder will be lifted. So if I will make puncture by upper, of course I can make puncture only in field position. If it is empty,
You will need to ask him to drink a lot.
usually it will. He will have. Why I need to make this puncture? To remove the urine. Yeah, it means there are the natural blockade of the urinary vein. You must to say drinking if you need some investigations. For example, if you make the sonography, it is another case. But this non-happy person have the problem with urinary waste. He can't go to the toilet. That's why automatically the urinary bladder will be full by the urine. Okay, put it in its place, please. Thank you very much. And let's continue, my friends. Several instruments which I want to show for you. All of them we call intestinal clamps. That's why we use these instruments to clamp intestine and stomach. All of them, guys, can be divided into two big groups. Now, please try to compare these two instruments. By the way, both of them can be straight and curved. That's why it is not the main difference. Nothing more, guys.
Sutures.
You want to say grooves?
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. But in your opinion, what is the main difference between them?
More measured.
Just, yeah.
There's a
Tip.
My friends, it's so simple. Look, I simply apply this one in my thing. If I will try to do it by this one, it will be very painful. How I come to this conclusion? I see the window between the branches, and branches is elastic. Let's say, remember please, this kind of intestinal clamp we call occlusional. That kind we call crushing. Let's say we can have occlusional and we can have crushing intestinal clamp. If it's possible, please give your paper and your pen. Now imagine that this is the part of intestine which I want to remove. For example, some part of small intestine or large intestine, one loop, yeah, one loop. I want to remove it. Am I need these instruments? Yes, of course, because I know that inside of this bowl there are non-sterile content, yeah, before cutting. For example, here there are tumor. I must to make operation which we call resection, partial removing of organ. Now look please, how many instruments I will apply? I will apply 4 instruments. 2 will be proximal to tumor, 2 will be distal to tumor. All peculiarities of this operation I will teach you after. Again, my purpose is not teach you operation. Now look, 1, 2, 3, 4. Say me, dear Ziad, from these 4 instruments, which is occlusional and which is crashing?
Can I say first?
Firstly, he, if you don't say, of course you will try.
1, 4, 2 and 3.
No, please, dear.
1 and 2.
Those
1
are
and 2. 1 and 4.
2 and 3,
2 and 3,
and
and 4 and 1 are the.
of course, of course, guys. If you want to kill the patient, it will be so.
Why?
Well, I don't know why you want to kill your patient. I'm asking. I don't know. 1 and 4, of course, will be occlusional, guys, and 2 and 3 will be crashing. Now you will say me why.
Because at first when you put this one,
Try to speak short here.
okay, the name.
It's not important.
It can be the
It will damage this.
the tumor should go to
cutting
the
it.
other
No,
side.
no, no.
This part will be removed, sir.
My friends, I don't tell you how technically I make operation. I ask you only one case. Why 1 and 4 is occlusional? It's so simple. In the non-removable part of organ, I will put occlusional, because after I will make sutures. In the removable part of it, here I will take my scalpel, and between these 2 instruments, I will cut this portion, and I will remove forever this portion. I will not need to keep it, but these opposite margins, I will suture to each other. If I will crush these margins, how I will apply after the sutures? That's why remember, guys, it is simple rule. In the removable part of digestive trunk, we apply crushing instrument. What it gives? It crush all the wall and prevent all kind of bleedings. It is crush all the vessels. But of course, in the non-removable part, I put occlusional. What the purpose of occlusional? Just to close the lumen without crushing of the tissues. It is close the lumen. It is prevent formation of peritonitis. Content doesn't come to outside. But of course, it doesn't make the necrosis of the structures. Remember forever, please, it is very important. A big group of the mirrors, which we use in 2 mainly practice. In proctological practice, to make investigation of the rectum, yeah? And in gynecological practice, to make investigation of vagina. Both these instruments has the lock mechanism that say we can open it how we need. Usually, they have a light.
Camera.
Yeah? They can have camera or just a light. Yeah? Let's say how we apply instrument in closed position. Yeah? We close instrument. We insert it inside of anus, for example. And you know, for example, I know that structure which I want to remove located in upper wall. For example, hemorrhoidal structures. Let's say I will apply in that position. To open after, have here the free space. If I know that it's located in right wall, for example, I will open it in that case. Let's say structure which is need to be operated will not be closed by this shield. Okay? And after this, I close how I need. Yeah? It gives the fixation, and I make operation which is necessary for me. Or operation, or just investigation. Let's say remember, please, different type of videos. This instrument, guys, is widely used in, for example, the stomatological or lower practice. We call it Manfrey tractor. But one part is absent here. It is the rubber tips. Usually we insert it to these metallic parts. Then we put it between the molars. And by force we open it. Has also, you can see the lock mechanism. We can open it in different size. Yeah. While rubber tips do not damage the tooth. Yeah, and it gives the fixation, opening fixation position for the oral cavity, and you can make several investigation inside of it. This instrument we call Alice tissue forceps. Alice, an English surgeon, Alice. What the peculiarity, guys? It is somehow resemblable to this dissecting for dressing forceps. Also, you can see sharp tips, but this is for our tissues. Usually we apply it to the uterus, then we remove it. You remember the uterus has strong muscular wall. And by dissecting forceps, for example, it will be very hard to fix it. Unfortunately, it is very, very traumatical. That's why remember, please, it is applied only in the removable structures. Structure which you will remove. It gives the great fixation because it is penetrated the wall of the structure. But again, I say you only for removable structures. Let's continue. No, not this one. Okay, it mix. Imagine the same instrument, but by one tooth in the end, like that one. Yeah. If it will be so, we will call it Coolidge forceps. Coolidge forceps has one purpose, guys. Then you open peritoneal cavity. By Coolidge forceps, it's very comfortable to fix the peritoneum. No, that one is kosher. What the difference between Coolidge and kosher? Coolidge is twice longer. But unfortunately, it doesn't have the tooth. That's why it is just simple bill rod. If it will have tooth, it will be Coolidge. I don't know. I lose it. That's why remember, please, the Coolidge instrument we use for fixation of peritoneum. You can ask me why it's necessary to fix peritoneum. My friends, it is maybe the hardest step of your operation to open the peritoneum. Why? Because just behind of peritoneum there are inner organs. Stupid surgeon just take the scalpel and cut the peritoneum and penetrate it in intestine or stomach. To prevent this problem, guys, you will take at least approximately 4 Coolidge forceps. In 4 angles, you fix the peritoneum, you open it. After this, you make the small hole. By the way, then you make the hole, of course, you fix to not damage the structures, yeah? You make small hole, then even we don't insert it this groove probe, because tip of this groove can, that's usually what we do. 2 our fingers inserted behind of it. By 2 our fingers, we will lift the peritoneum, and between 2 our fingers, by the scissor, we cut the parietal peritoneum. But we don't remove these Coolidge forceps till operation will not be finished. Yeah, that's why during all operation, it is open the peritoneal cavity. After, my friends, you connected these 4 instruments to each other, and by 1-2 sutures, you close the aperture of the peritoneum. You understand me? So remember, please, Coolidge forceps. Unfortunately, again, I say I don't have it here to show for you. And finally, let's come to the group number 5. My dear friends, here, like I say you, there are different type of the needles, and we have the needle holders. There are 2 main type of needle holders. This one we call Hager needle holder. It has the same construction like our arterial forceps. Lock mechanism. I insert my 2 fingers, I press, I open, I close. By the way, it has this one exactly has 2 lock steps. Not so strong and very strong. Yeah, that's why if, for example, I work in superficial structures, I will lock it in 1 step. If I will work in the deep structures to not lose my needle, I will close it in double steps. Yeah, that's why 1 step, 2nd step, and safely I open. And we have different type of the needles. Second form of needle holder, I don't have to show, you will see in your pictures. We call Mathieu, a French surgeon. I think you listen, Mathieu. What the peculiarity of Mathieu instrument? Mathieu instrument have another construction. Again, if it's possible, give me please. Something like this. Yeah, it has again the branches. By the branches you fix, yeah, your needle, and handle has unique construction. Lock mechanism located here. What it gives for you guys. Then you close it, then you press it. It is firstly closed, then you press it a little more, it is open. Let's say you close and open it by same pressure. Once you close, once you press, it is closed. Second time you press, lock is open, and branches is disconnected to each other. I don't use the Mathieu in my practice. Why? Twice I use it, and sometimes during the operation, you little bit press instrument, and it's come to the open, and you can lose your needle. That's why I use only the Hager instrument, and I suggest you also to use the Hager instrument. Now look here, please, the needles. There are different type of the needles, guys. First of all, you can see that majority of needles which we use in surgical practice is curved. Yeah, they have different curvature. This one is more curved, this is less curved, but they are curved. Only in 1% of cases in surgical practice we can use straight needles. We have also straight needles. For which purpose? Sometimes we need to longly insert needle inside of tissue. Why? For example, then you suture the tendons to each other. You will longly insert thread inside of the tendon. Why? Because, my friends, tendons, they doesn't have elasticity, and they can be easily split into the fibers. To prevent it, I will longly insert needle inside of thread. I will teach it for you. Again, now my purpose not to use. If my needle will be curved, it will be impossible to longly insert it. Tip will come to outside. You understand what about this? In our cuisine, there are some special dishes, horovats, we longly insert. Yeah, in your also, you make kebab, for example. You longly insert the metallical wire inside of the meat. If it will be curved, it will be impossible. Tip will come to outside. That's it. But, my friends, it is very seldom cases. Usually, our needles is curved. Tell me, please, why? Because you sleep in my explanations. I tell you in my previous lesson that surgery, it is work inside of the body. If I want to work inside of the body by straight instrument, it will be impossible. I will insert my hand inside of the wound. If my instrument is curved, I can insert only tip and touch the structures which is necessary for me. Let's say, remember classification number 1. All surgical needles can be divided into curved and straight. Curvation can be different. By the special numbers, we show the curvation. Okay. Classification number 2. All surgical needles, doesn't matter it is straight or curved, can be divided into 2 big groups. Piercing needles and cutting needles. Piercing needles and cutting needles. Dear, please, if it's not hard for you, accurately palpate the body of this needle. And now palpate the body of that needle.
It's blunt and it is.
Blunt, maybe you will use another word, not blunt. Yes, of course. This has round body, this has triangular body. That's why for this instrument, not only tip will work, margins also will cut the structures. For that instrument, only tip will work, margins is round. That's why this one I will call prinking or piercing needle. This one I will call cutting needle. Lachin, tell me please, in your opinion, in which cases I will use cutting needle and in which cases I will use piercing needle?
This is for suturing from outside.
Is that for
That
soft
one-
and that for soft?
But soft is not good. I will use the term elastic and non-elastic. The more elastic tissue, the more cutting needle I need. The less elastic, the less I need. That's for example, imagine two tissues, fat and skin. What I will use for skin, what I will use for fat. From these two instruments.
Skin cutting.
Elastic.
And for fat,
Piercing.
of course. My friends, if I will try to make sutures of skin by piercing instrument, I can break it. I can break because my skin or your skin is very elastic, and it's not, believe me, it's not easy to penetrate it. Especially if we speak about the regions with thick skin, frontal occipital region. Again, I say, you guys, only strong persons can suture the skin in that region. That's why if you want to work in the surgery, a little bit train your muscles. Yeah, I'm so very serious, guys. Or you will have problems. In the surgery, you must work by your all force. It's not simple. That's I remember once again. Curved, straight needles, piercing needles, cutting needles. Now, again, one more classification. All needles, doesn't matter, it is piercing, cutting, or which another, can be divided into two big groups. Traumatical and atraumatical. Traumatical and atraumatical. Please cut the piece of this thread by the scissor. Thank you. Now look here, please. This is example of atraumatical needle. That is example of traumatical needle. Maybe logically you will tell me why this instrument we call you can
Traumatic.
but don't damage your fingers. And this instrument we call traumatical. Maybe you will explain us.
Because of thread. This of the
And what? Thread is make more traumatical or less. First of all, if I want to suture in both cases, I will have must to have thread. Give me the traumatical. Now, first of all, look, guys. How we fix the needle inside of needle holder. Look. First of all, for fixation, I use not the tip and not the base. If I will fix by tip, I will lose. By base, I will break. That's why I use the mid part. Now look here, please. Holder and needle absolutely perpendicular to each other. And curvation will be perpendicular to axis. Not in that case, but like this. You can see that I divided by holder my needle into two unequal parts. 1/3 it is blunt, 2/3 it sharp. Then I take the thread and simply, very easy, I insert it inside of my needle. Yeah? That's why now, dear Jisna, both your needles have the threads. Explain me please why it is atraumatical and this one is traumatical. Hurry up, time comes.
by forceps only we can.
Doctor, you can
Because
use
it
this
is
one?
traumatical. It is traumatical for who? For me, for you, for my parents, for whom it is, or maybe for our patient. That's why if I inserted the thread inside of needle, it stands more traumatical.
Maybe you will lose it.
Yeah.
Maybe what? Maybe yes, maybe no. What, guys?
You will lose the.
My friends, it's so simple. You don't use your brain. Look, if I need, first of all, I think you understand that this instrument I can use many times. I sterilized it, inserted new thread and use it forever. That one is single using. That one, during one operation I cannot connect it new thread because in factory condition they connect it to each other. That's why now I must come to conclusion why it is more traumatical than that one. Why this one is more traumatical for my patient, not for
Maybe it's
me.
not
Because of the infection?
I say I
It
sterilize
is
it.
for suture the inner part.
The suture may be removed, like the needle can be kept in.
It is traumatization, dear. I speak about trauma of tissue during my work.
So because the edge is very
You see, so clever, thank you. He don't study my lessons, but he's very logical person. If I must to insert thread inside of this needle, it must to have big ear. Yes or no? Big hole, big aperture. What it means, big aperture? Give me again your paper. Big aperture it means very simple thing. Then I penetrated the tissues, I make the hole. But thread, which is after come to this hole, will occupy not all this aperture, only part of it. Because diameter of my traumatical needle will be much more bigger than diameter of the thread which I inserted, or it will be impossible.
Or you should choose the suitable needles then.
Dear, it is very great.
No, I mean you should choose before the operation.
I choose it.
But why you choose the big one to cause the
I
trauma?
don't choose the big one. I say that it must to be bigger to the thread. Doesn't matter which one you will choose. If you want to work with traumatical instrument,
Yeah.
thread which you inserted inside of it cannot be equal to its size.
Yeah.
Size of needle will be bigger. You can take small or big, doesn't matter. If I take the atraumatical one, you can see that approximately they have the same size, approximately. Because it's not necessary to insert it inside of this needle. Let's say we will have another picture. Approximately, all this aperture will be occupied by our thread. Now tell me, please, in your opinion, what is the main disadvantages of this atraumatical needle?
Making like space.
First one is very simple. Yeah, big aperture. Traumat is a great space. Especially, guys, it's very dangerous then you make the suturing of digestive tract because through this space, any liquids can come to outside.
Yeah.
You know, you study the physics, you know, the capillary forces.
Yes.
By capillary forces, liquids even can go from down to upwards. That's why it is very dangerous. Let's say, my friends, of course, today, if you can work with atraumatical, prefer to do it. Of course, it's more expensive. But it gives the great results, much more better than traumatical. But you will see in different countries, in Europe, in United, up to now, you can see using of the traumatical needles. Let's say, remember, please, we try to not use it because it makes big complications. Especially for skin, it's maybe not so actual. Yeah? What is actual for skin? Just it will be cosmetically not so beautiful, yeah, if I will make suturing. Usually, you know what is the main cosmetological problem of sutures of the skin? Not the line of scar, but these points, which is visible from margins. And of course, the more will be diameter of my needle, the more will be these points from the margin. That's why I will teach you how to make suture to not see absolutely these points. Yeah, it is the intercutaneous sutures. Then hold your hands. Then a little bit far from each other. Then we make the suturing from the margins of the wound. We don't perforate it from the sides. Then you close after the sutures, yeah, it will be between two margins. Yeah? Or in that case, you will apply or special type of the threads, which we call the reducible. During the time, they disappear because of the immunity reactions. They make absorption inside of the tissues. Okay, this is about, thank you very much. This is about the needles. And now a little bit about threads. My friends, threads, all the threads, yeah, can be divided into two big groups. Absorbable and non-absorbable. You can ask me why it's necessary. Guys, because some structures which I suture will be fixed to each other forever because they have bad regeneration. Another structures which has big, great regeneration, I can suture during the short time after 3, 4, 5 days. Yeah, everything will be connected to each other and I don't need to have foreign body inside of our tissues. Time of absorption can be different. The shortest time of absorption, which I know, it is approximately 20-25 days. Catgut. The longest time of absorption, for example, Vicryl, Maxon, it is 1 year. For example, ligaments, because ligaments have not so good healing, regenerative reactions. So remember, classification number 1. Just in your thread will be written absorbable thread and will be written the time of absorption, and you will use which time of absorption unit. That's
Is there the types? No?
Sorry?
The types here, it's not yet?
No, it is written about, it is...
No, I mean types.
What?
The absorbed and non-absorbed.
What do you mean then? You say
You
type.
said there are
Asking
two types.
types
I
of
mean like the
threads.
types.
This one, it is simple thread there. It is not medical thread here. It is cutting to show. That one is not absorbable. But this is the simple
No,
thread.
no,
Cotton.
Yeah.
Silk. Thank you very much. Yeah, really, silk. Silk is not absorbable. By the way, silk we use for suturing. For example, for the skin. Why? Because the sutures from the skin we must remove usually. Yeah. In the 7 days. 7 days is absolutely enough for the skin for regeneration. Usually in the 7th day we remove the skin. Let's say, of course, not this silk, but silk we use. Let's say classification number 2. All threads we divide, doesn't matter it is absorbable or non-absorbable, we divide it into monofilament and polyfilament threads. What it means, guys? This is polyfilament. You can see I can separate it into many fibers. What is monofilament? I think you see the fishing thread, yeah? For fishing. It is only one fiber. What the advantages and disadvantages of monofilament, and hold your finger, please. Look here, please. Polyfilament thread doesn't have the memory. What is the memory? Then I make some knots, yeah? Simultaneously, it will not be open. It doesn't have elasticity. Monofilament one, vice versa. Imagine again fishing thread, yeah? It has some memory. Then I try to make the knot, it is trying to be open. This is disadvantages, but in same time, look here please. Polyfilament, it is like the jelly wire, so it has the margins. More of this, between these fibers, liquids can be spread. Again, the capillary forces. Let's say, my friends, try to use, thank you very much, try to use polyfilament for not whole organs, for superficial structures, monofilament for suturing of digestive structures. So remember it, please. For today, it's enough. That's your homework I gave you. Next time, you will give me answer